And remember, folks, be there. Have I said that the wrong way around? I think I have, haven't
You've got to do two, or I've got to do two, one or the other.
I? I'll start again. It's because D usually does the first bit,
I
so I'm
know
so
she
used to
does.
doing. I was just on autopilot. And remember, folks, be there, be there. Have I got it? Oh my god. Oh, Ian. Be there, be there.
And be naked.
Fucking hell. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Naked Coach Collective. You're here with me and B, and today we're talking about self-care. Why self-care is not selfish, and as they say on the plane, put your own mask on first. So from my perspective with this episode, I wanted to kind of shift the narrative that self-care is selfish, and explore why from my viewpoint it's about inner leadership. So you're taking charge of your own life first to be able to then show up and be the best you can possibly be for other people. But we'll start with yourself, B, because I know you've got a slightly different take on it. So, what is self care to you? And when we say that, put your own mask on first. What does that mean to you?
So yeah, so I experienced this for a large part of my life, and part of believing that self care was selfish is this sort of giving part of a female, and a lot of females are like it, not everyone, that they need to do everything for everyone else. Um, and maybe it's part of our nurturing, as we call it, or the way we are. But I
Mm,
think also for me, if I was being truly honest, it's it's what gave me my value. So because I sort of spent a lot of years without feeling that I had any value, okay, without, like, as a person, just as an innate person, not because of what I can do or what I can achieve or nothing like that. Just there is a value, an inset value that's just in you, that believes that you deserve to be here regardless, that kind of basic value. But
mm,
so many females, and I think I don't want to generalize, but there are a lot of females that I have definitely worked with who don't have that base value. And in order to feel valued, they do everything for everyone else, because what that does is that makes them, not only do they see happiness and joy in other people when they do it, they also then feel valued because they are helping someone. Okay. Um, and I think, I did that for a long time. I did what everybody else wanted me to do, expected me to do, needed me to do, because that made me feel, it made me feel of value. Yeah.
mm,
But what I never realized, I think, for a long time is that because I didn't value myself just as the person I was, doing that for everyone else, as I continued to do it and do it and do it and do it, I got, I don't want to say moany, but I got less enjoyment out of it. I got more tired. I moaned about doing it. Um, I, um, I don't know what the word is. And basically, what I was doing was draining my energies by giving everyone else my energies, but doing absolutely nothing for myself to restore those energies. So
mm,
essentially, as we call it, pouring from an empty cup, or like you've said, putting your mask on first. It was a case of I had to hit quite low points before I realized why. But then when you realize why, you think it's just a case of doing a couple of things for yourself, but it's not that at all. For me, I had to go back to understanding and working out who I actually was and understanding that I had a value regardless of what I did or didn't do for other people. That, you know, that I was in this world and I had gifts and talents like other people, and that I wasn't valuing them or using them. And my value came purely from helping others.
It's interesting that you mentioned the kind of gender role in this, where you mentioned that generally speaking, women do a lot for other people.
Yeah.
Now, as you were talking, what just instantly came into my mind when you were mentioning that was my side, being the male, is kind of, I was just almost burning myself out with so much work.
Yeah.
Work. Whereas you're, as the female, look after, take care,
Yeah.
nurture, that kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
weird how that kind of gender roles just played out right in front of us for the two of us. But quick question: do you think any guilt comes into it when you take some time for yourself? Because
Massively.
I know I did when I first kind of made that switch. I felt guilty for not
Mm.
working as hard as I'd always
Mm.
worked. And it
Mm.
wasn't that I wasn't working hard; I just wasn't working as long hours
Yeah.
during the hours I was working, I was still full on. But there was that kind of slightly guilty edge to it. Do you think that plays a role in it from your side as well?
Absolutely. And actually, when you do a lot for other people and then you take some of that back and you don't do so much, they become more critical of you as well.
Yeah,
Oh, well, why can't you? Well, that's not, you know, and you're like, oh my God, that makes you feel even more guilty. And it's not their fault actually. It's what you've always done. So as soon as you change that status quo, they believe you to be so often. Like like if I'd say no to something, they go, "Oh, what's the matter with you? You know,
yeah,
you miserable," or you know, it's that kind of like connotation. And I think there's an element, and there is this element that we were brought up as definitely as females to not be selfish. Being selfish, doing things for yourself, was classed as selfish. You know, you had a role. Like in old society there was a role, and like you say, it was all about caregiving for the female, and for the male it was about providing the home and
provide.
the
Yeah,
finances. Yeah, so it was giving of yourself in two different ways. So for women it was always about doing everything for everyone else, and for men it was definitely about trying to make more money, to bring more money home, to make sure, you know, you put the food on the table and that kind of thing. And so I'm not saying it, like what I was trying to say is from the female gender, it's about giving. From the male gender, it's a different perspective. So, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It's funny that was the very first thing I noticed when you started
Mm,
talking. How it was just completely different, and mine was, yes, it was the provide,
mm,
work your backside off and provide for the family. Um, And just picking up on what you said then, so when I did stop working as many hours as I was doing, obviously people noticed at work because I just physically could not do the amount of work I was doing. I'd be like, is everything okay? And what's wrong? And I'm like, no, don't worry, I'm just working my actual hours. You're all right.
mm. Yeah, the ones I'm paid for.
Yeah, I was just working the paid for hours. But
But
I
you,
made a conscious decision as well to start saying no to people as well, because what I used to do is, so when I started at the company there was only like 27
mm,
people. I was a 28th employee, and it was so fast growing, and everybody just pitched in like every little department to help
yeah,
and grow the company and keep things going. And something's not working over there, go sort it out,
yeah,
so everyone pitched in, and I kind of just carried that on despite the fact that we started getting like departments and
yeah, yeah,
filling them with people who know what they're doing in those departments. And I'm still helping out here, I'm still helping out there when people ask. And it got to a point where people would be like, there's like 100 people in the business, it got to when I started kind of scaling back a bit on my work. Then they're like, "Oh, Ian will know the answer to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Ian will be able to help you with that."
Mm,
And it'd be something that's got absolutely nothing to do with the role I was doing. Don't
mm,
worry, Ian will be able to help you with that. And it got to the point where I was just like, "No, I can't. No,
mm.
no." And
Yeah.
funnily enough, when you start saying no, your actual workload does come down to meet what you should be doing.
There's also an element, I think, for all of us that's a little bit of control. It's releasing control as well, isn't it?
Mm,
It's often in job elements. It's like, oh well, if I let someone else do that and then they do it wrong, I've then got to do it. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of
yeah,
releasing, like,
you want it
but
doing right.
yeah, but we've
Do
all
it
got
yourself.
to. You always, everyone has to make mistakes to be better at something, in my opinion. So, and they're not really mistakes; they're just what does feedback, aren't they? They're just feedback on a situation. So, on that note, I think that yeah, there is. I found it quite hard to give up the control side of things when I ran my own business, particularly because I am so detail orientated, I suppose. But equally, like you, I don't know what point, and I don't know why it happens, Ian, and I don't know if it's an age thing or what. It comes very clear that there is a work life balance that needs to be had. Um, I mean, actually, I do know the point when I first realised how much I worked when I was working for somebody, and that was when when Sean had his accident and I nearly lost him overnight. And then what goes through your head is, when was the last time we actually spent any quality time together?
Mm,
And people say, oh well, we have holidays. Well, Sean and I have one, maybe two holidays a year. Is that quality time out of 52 weeks a year? Exactly.
yeah, there's 2 points there. So,
Mm.
your first one, I knew the exact moment for me, and it was in the coaching session with Dee. And not to blow a trumpet, I
Yeah,
hope she doesn't listen back to this. Don't want to boost that ego anymore. But it was all thanks to Dee that I did start taking those step backs, because she kind of like opened up my
Mm.
eyes to what I'd been keeping with me from when I was a
Mm.
kid. And just then when you were, oh, I forgot what you were saying. What did you say? It'll
About
come back to
having
me.
holidays, 2 holidays a year, and is that really quality
Oh,
time
that's it.
together,
That's it.
Sunday?
Thank you. So it's the quality time, and you said how much time do you actually spend that is quality time together? And I was on a call on Wednesday with a potential client, and we were talking, and she was saying, we used to be happy. I was I was devastated for her when she said that. So yeah, yeah, it's I said to her at the time, I was like, look, sometimes it's just about taking the time to sit and think about all the things you've still got left to do in the world, that
Yeah,
kind of thing, and just think about all the nice things you've got left to do that you can do, and start moving in that direction. But just to move the conversation on, what do you think it costs you if you don't look after yourself? I know what it cost me, and I can
health,
delve into that. But what about yourself?
health, um, mood. I mean, I was not great to be around. Um, Tired, always tired, and
Mm,
health wise, not just my mental health, which did suffer, but also my physical health. Um, because you make yourself believe you haven't got time to eat healthily, to cook a meal, you know, to go shopping properly, um, I don't know, it's just 100 things. I think, and some days I would literally sit at my desk at my computer for like 12, 14 hours, and I may have had 3 or 4 drinks max during that time, might have grabbed a biscuit here and something. Do you see? And it was just, that was every day. And of course, that effect has its effect on your body, like physical health. It has an effect on your mental health. um, and it creates tension in your relationships without a shadow of a doubt. And I think my biggest thing was one day I sat back and I thought, I got married because I was in love with this guy, and I'm still in love with this guy, but I just, our relationship just isn't the same. And it's not, I'm not talking about when you first meet, I'm talking about the time we used to spend together. And I'd even sort of cut back on going on the dog walks and stuff like that, because it's like, oh, well, if I go on the dog walks, I can't get this ready and I can't do that. It's just, do you know what I think? We fill ourselves full of the bullshit that we need to earn more, earn more, earn more, earn more, so we can have more, have more, have more. But that have more isn't time. That have more is materialistic shit that when you go will mean absolutely bugger all to anybody. It doesn't matter what car you drive, what house you've got, what holidays you've been on. It doesn't matter, right? Because that's not, if I, from my perspective now, money is no longer my driver for doing what I do. I've discovered that in order to work, it has to be something that I have a passion in or an affinity in. And this is probably one of the first jobs where the company is very really strict about us working our hours and not doing too much, etc. And I've just realised the value of that,
Mm.
the value of being able to finish work and finish work.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I know from my side of things, I've talked about this before
mm,
on the show, where I'd be closing the laptop down at the end of the day, like 11 o'clock at night, whatever it was, and my head would just be a buzzing fog of noise. My head
mm.
would literally be like ringing. It's so weird, and it's so difficult to explain, and I just want complete and utter silence. I won't want to talk to anybody. I wouldn't even want to hear the dog. I just want silence, and that obviously has its effect on relationships and what have you. But
Absolutely.
yeah, it's about, and that kind of leads me into my next point, which was is about taking that kind of leadership of yourself, that self responsibility versus kind of, I don't know, abandoning yourself
Mm.
for other people and or your work or whatever it is. So it's like to enable you to show up for others instead of disappearing into others. It's about having that kind of responsibility for yourself first,
Mm.
which is why it's not selfish in my eyes to take care of yourself and look after number one, as they say.
We talk a lot about it when we're doing coaching, don't we? And the thing is, if you're just talking about it and not doing it yourself, that's like a double standard, in my opinion. But also, if you don't take time for yourself, uh, coaching's quite draining, in its own way, um, because we need to show up in our best form to be able to give our clients the best from ourselves. And if we can't do that because we're not taking time for ourselves, like I said, it's like a double standard. We're doing ourselves a disservice and we're doing the clients a disservice. And actually, there are times and moments when I've like gone, no, that's it. My brain's just fried now. I can't think anymore. I can't do it anymore. Close the laptop down. Even just taking 10, 15 minutes sometimes, I can come back to it and go, right, I couldn't see that then, but I can see it now. Do you know what I mean? I think
Mm,
what we don't realise is, and what other people do is they'll say they've been working 14 hours or however long, how many ever hours, but how much of that was actual productive?
mm,
There's a big difference in productive working hours. And, being able to, sometimes people will stay later to finish something that would take them, let's say, half an hour longer at the end of the day, but would only take them 15 minutes in the morning when they're fresh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's as you mentioned then, kind of like a double standard if you're not living the life that you're preaching to your clients about. And I always think to myself, well, this is kind of a check-in for myself that I say to myself, you wouldn't want your clients to run themselves into the ground. So why are
would you do
doing
it?
And I kind of say that to myself on occasion when I know and like catch myself that I'm doing a bit too much. So what are some practical tips that we can give people to help with that self-care? I mean, what are some practical tips, but also what do you do specifically?
So mine was implementing some small routines because everything had to be non-overwhelming for me. So it was like implementing quiet time, really quite important for me. I notice that I'm better when I'm quiet, whether that's meditating or whether that's just being quiet. And actually, if you are a busy person all the time, you will find doing it really freaking challenging, right? Because you're not used to doing it. Seriously, meditation, people go, I can't do that. I can't do that, because they're so used to being busy. But like I say, there's a very difference between busy and productive. They are two very different things, right? So first of all, just very small things. And I started with just 5 minute space, 5 minute space or breathing or quiet. And then I started to consider what the long-term effects would be on my body, first of all, if I didn't start eating a little bit better, doing a little bit of exercise. And we can all tell ourselves, oh, I haven't got time. I mean, I haven't got time. I hate that word so much, because one of the things I did to secure the job I now do is I did a talk on time, and time being the most valuable gift. And everybody goes, oh, no, it's not. And I'm like, you can't do anything without time. You can't achieve anything. You can't help anyone. You can't do anything unless you've got time. So if you run yourself into the ground, you run out of time. And that's why I always think about time as like important to me as it is important to other people. And when it came to other people, I tried to be honest. I think I'm I'm quite a straight person now, and I'll be quite straight and honest. I think I found that very difficult initially. Yeah, me. But initially, I found that really difficult to say what I was feeling or thinking, and also to remember to say it in a nice, not in a nice way. But then that, because if the person that you're saying it to realizes, because actually when if you're a strong person, you keep doing, and doing. People just think you can carry on doing and doing and doing. They think you don't need what they need. So when they realize that you are also vulnerable, yeah, if you allow yourself to be a bit vulnerable, which a lot of us find really uncomfortable, and you tell them, I'm sorry, I can't do that because I am doing this, and at the moment I'm very overwhelmed at work and I need some whatever it is you're going to tell them, that because I'd much rather tell them the truth than say yes to something and then lie to get out of it. And I think if you're honest at the beginning, that person will either understand or they won't. If they don't understand, then they need to question their own levels of compassion.
Yeah, that used to be one of my pet peeves in the project management job, was when people didn't know how to do something, but they didn't tell me, and they'd let it get to a certain point where shit starts hitting the fan, and I'm having to deal with it, and I'm taking the brunt of everything from clients and whoever it is. And they go, oh, well, yeah, I didn't know how to do it. And I'm like, why didn't you just tell me from the very start?
Yeah.
and it would have been absolutely fine. I could have worked around it. It's like, just tell me. Don't let it fester. Just tell me. One thing I really like that you brought up the time element.
Yeah.
So for me, there's two things on this. One is everybody's got the same amount of time.
Yep.
It's not a time issue. It's a priority issue. And second is, I saw this clip on social media. I think it was only a couple of weeks or a couple of months ago. And it's this guy who's got like a show and he interviews people randomly in the street. And he finds this lad who's obviously on a night out. He looks pretty worse for wear, but he lays down some absolute truth. And he goes, "What's one bit of advice you can give people now?" And he turns around and he says, "If I gave you $1 million, would you take it?" You obviously would. If I gave you that same $1 million and said that you'll die tomorrow, would you still take it? You obviously wouldn't. So where's the true value? And then he just walked off, and I was like, "You little legend."
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
But so there's that. There's in terms of things to do from my side of things, action steps is, and we do this on every kind of coaching session, a dream building coaching session, is we go through that generating state, which is taking deep breath in through the nose and then out through the mouth like you're breathing through a straw, and you just repeat that 3 or 4 times, and it just helps to lower your energy, get yourself to an energetic state where you're more relaxed. So there's that, and then I have to find a bit of peace in my head every single day. So as I was saying, that fog of noise in my head and my head was just ringing.
Yeah.
Now I'm just constantly searching for that peace. So even if it's just the like hour walk with Milo in the day, just walking around the park, that just clears the mind, clears that fog of noise. Not that it's there much anymore. Only occasionally. But yeah, I have to do something to find the peace. But a lot of it is sodding off into the mountains, because that is just the ultimate.
Yeah.
Get up there as you're walking up, and you get up there. It's like it just washes away.
Yeah.
It's
And for everybody,
so liberating.
It's different, isn't it? Their sense of peace is different. So for some people, it's, I'll feel better if I go to the gym, or I'll feel better if I go and punch a punching bag, for an hour, whatever. Or someone's feel better. The other day, someone said to me, "Had such a rubbish day. I'm going to go to the beach after work. It wasn't warm or anything like that, and I'm just going to walk along with a bag of chips and give myself half an hour."
Nice.
It's everybody's peace is different, and sometimes people don't know what their peace is because they haven't investigated what their peace is. So what I would say in that respect, and it took me ages to work out exactly what worked for me, make a list of all the things you'd love to do, right? In terms of for yourself. So not for anybody else, but all the things you'd love to do or try yourself. Yeah? Start with the easiest and the smallest and work your way through them. You'll soon work out what you like and what you don't like. Because sometimes we think we'd like to do something and then we do it and we're like, oh, actually, I didn't live up to what I was going to hope it was going to be. And I think sometimes when you've just always been constantly busy, to actually quiet is really hard. And it's finding what helps you to be quiet.
I think there's maybe an element of fear in that as well. And I say that to mean that they've never sat with silence, so they've never listened to themselves.
Yeah.
So there's maybe an element of fear of the silence and being able to hear their own thoughts and maybe not wanting to.
Yeah, absolutely. And there will also be an element of guilt if I'm taking time out.
Yeah.
But
it's the best. Silence is the absolute best.
So there's lots of things you
Silence
can do.
really is golden for me.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's lots of things you can do. The most important thing is just start. And ask. I mean, I always ask, I'm always like saying to myself, where am I at? Where am I at? How am I feeling today? And there's so many tools out there. Do what's right for you. But this journal that I asked for Christmas, do you remember this? I told you, the 3-minute positivity
Yeah.
journal. Fill it in morning and evening. I mean, I just love it. How do I feel right now? And it just gives me all these choices, right? And you can tick more than one. And it's just
Journaling's
like,
great.
it's a very quick, and it is 3-minute check-in with myself twice a day. And if I can't give myself 3 minutes twice a day, then what I'm saying is I'm not worth it.
Mm,
And you know
exactly.
what? If I want to be good for everyone else, I have to understand that I am worth it.
Journaling for me is great. I don't do it all the time. It's
No.
not like a daily practice for me. But I know the benefits of it. Because everyone who does do it talks about how good the benefits of it are in doing it. There's, what is it? I think it's Rich Litvin. Obviously,
Yeah.
love that guy. He gets his clients to start journaling on a daily basis and have a weekly check-in. So on like the 7th day of your journaling, have a bigger check-in than just the 3. So like go back, review what you've written during the week and see how you felt at certain points and all this kind of stuff. And then do the same at the end of the month. So one at the end of every week and then one at the end of the month. And then when you've gone 3 months in, you'll be able to see a massive difference from where you were to where you are, purely because you're tracking on each week and you're making slight, tiny little improvements to whatever it is your routine is or your habits or whatever, and it's slowly starting to improve and have a snowball effect on everything else. And yeah, it can be so powerful, the journaling stuff. Not
It's also a
that I
safe
do it,
space
but
to say. It's also a safe space to say what you're feeling, right?
yeah,
Because sometimes we do find it really hard to say what we're feeling or thinking. So it's a safe space to write that down. And I remember one of the first things I did was the pros and cons of giving myself time. What were the pros and cons? And most of the cons were about what other people would think about me.
Interesting.
And like I say, which led me back to realizing that I was using it for my external validation, and I had absolutely no internal validation at all. And in order to feel valued, you have to have internal validation. So yeah.
Amen. And I think that's a wrap.
Absolutely.
That was
I'm
good, that
hoping we
one.
gave enough out there, but I think it is, like I said, it's a journey.
They've got half an hour. They've got half an hour worth of stuff there. They can. That's more than enough for them.
And there's lots of great books out there you can start with as well. So I mean, seriously.
Yeah, there definitely is, and just like we were saying, just journals as well.
Yeah.
Just grab yourself a little journal, and that would be my biggest thing actually. Just grab yourself a journal and start journaling. And that's not a dear diary.
No,
It's not. We don't mean that kind of thing. It's just asking yourself. There's ones out there that have certain questions in there for you.
Yeah.
That can help you. So yeah, get yourself a journal, and that's it.
Okay.
So, like, subscribe, share the episode with anyone you feel needs to hear it, and remember, folks, be there. Have I said that the wrong way around? I think I have, haven't I?
You've got to do 2, or I've got to do 2, one or the other.
I'll start again. It's because Dee usually does the first bit,
I
so
know
I'm so
she
used to
does.
doing. I was just on autopilot. And remember, folks, be there, be there. Have I got it? Oh my god. Oh, Ian. Be there, be bear.
and be naked.